Hi guys, we have ourselves here a Pacifica. Specifically, this one's an '04, but we have a common problem with the intake. This is a 3.5 engine, and I researched this online. You get a lot of people saying this customer had the same complaint, the whistling noise on the Pacifica, and I'll tell you, if you take it to the dealer, they'll tell you to replace the upper intake, which should cost you at the dealer around $2,200, I believe. The intake itself is like 18 or so. I think 15 at cost wholesale, so it is a pricey job. And me and my brother actually took this apart, and we're able to find where the issue is, and this is a chronic problem. So you do see them happen in a lot of the Pacificas. And here you have the upper intake, and you have the butterflies or flaps, if you will, that open and shut by this valve that connects to this tiny rod that then connects to the longer rod, which runs through here, through the whole thing, that turns them. Now, as you can tell, the smaller rod, let me turn it sideways, the smaller rod, which should work aligned, it's crooked, as you guys can tell right now. And you'd normally get a check engine light for this because you get an evap leak, because and that's why you hear the whistle. If you open the hood of your car, you will hear a whistle. And the cause of that, the rod is unaligned, and this rod goes right through that hole. I don't know if you can see it that well, but there's actually a bearing in there. And the way that works is the bearing, the rod itself works really close to the bearing, which should seal, and there should be no air leak through here, because this will be connected to all this will be connected to the lower intake, so they'll be sealed by the gasket, so there should be no leaks here. And what happens is, as that is unaligned, the longer, yeah, and there is a plastic pin over here which we'll pull out for you guys to see. Right there.
That actually holds the rod on place.
That's what, like my brother said, that holds the longer rod in place. And when the longer rod, which turned the flaps, is in place, this smaller rod should be aligned, which right now it isn't, and I put it that way just to show you guys. And which causes play right here, and which causes the leak, and that's when you get a check engine light. Now, what we did here is we can show how there's play in that. It's very tiny, so I don't know if you guys can you can kind of feel it. So but you can see how it moves, and it shouldn't move like that. And that's it is a quite small air leak, but you will get a check engine light for that. So what we do here is my brother now is gonna pull the rod back in place so you guys can see how it should work.
Hold on, let me leave this thing. That should be. We gotta put it down.
Okay, now I'll show you that now that we have actually pulled it out. That's the pin that should normally, oh, my camera won't focus, but that's the pin that should normally hold the longer rod in place. But now what happens, that pin is actually plastic, so as time goes, that normally grinds on the longer rod, which eventually allows it to move forward, which is the wrong way that it should work. Now my brother will connect that smaller rod again, and you will see the difference. Now you can tell how that rod is aligned. Instead of before, it would go inward right here, because that was that moved in, but now it's fully aligned. And if you understand how this works, now since the longer rod was pulled back, now it works close enough to the bearing that's in there, and it should seal, and you should have no air leak. And this whole thing is sold in one piece. So the issue is that at the dealer you can't get anything separate, and that's why the repair comes out so pricey. Now, the way we've come up with to make this work is, since this pin, which would be that one, which would normally be all the way in, that's supposed to lock the longer rod in place. But since that pin, like I said, eventually it grinds on the other plastic piece, and eventually it'll also have play because it eats away from the pin itself.
Yeah,
now,
just make sure you show that's the
so you see that there's a space right there, and that's how it normally should look if the longer rod is in the right place. And like I said, you will have this smaller rod fully aligned and even a little bit out, and that's how it should be, instead of normally how it was like that, and it was ending about right here where this is now. And so it should come out about, I'd say, about half an inch to
and what
3/4 of an inch.
What happened when the rod goes in, and what happens, the battery sits over here in this gap. Yep. So that's why it causes the leaks.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that gap over here should be the pin should be sits over here to hold the rod in place.
Yeah, so that's why you see a little mark right there on that gap, because the once the bearing sets here, there's no way it seals air, and that's why you get an air leak in here. That's why it's quite a small air leak. That's why it even makes a whistling noise. Now, this hole that you guys see right there, I don't have much light, but there's a hole right there, exactly. That hole we've actually made because the customer doesn't want to spend $2,000 to fix this. It's a check engine light, it's a leak, it's minor, but you still won't pass inspection. At least in Mass you won't. So that hole that we've made, we'll now put we'll show you guys, we'll put a screw in there.
First we have to align that.
Yeah, now we align that gap where it's shiny right there should align with the hole, which is normally where the where the original pin would be sitting. Once aligned, once again, the rod should be straight, not going inward, but going a little bit outwards, and that's the proper way for it to work, as you guys can see right here.
There's no play at all right now.
And there's no play because it's sitting in the right place, tight on the bearing, which should seal, the air completely. Now, like I said, we've made that hole that you guys see right there, and my brother will now put a screw in there. Now you don't, whoever does this, don't put a gigantic screw because you don't have much space to actually drill. So we've put a screw, just big enough.
Just cut from here, Tom, because you're gonna be able to see where's the bolt's gonna seal on to hold the rod on.
And you guys can see right there.
Get enough light?
Yep.
Keep going. It's close enough.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good right there.
Now you guys see, once we put that screw there, so the way this works is there's plastic right here, but then that gap that I showed you is in between the screw, and then the part that goes through the bearing that's right there, the really small bearing, is thick like this beginning part as well, so it seals right on the bearing. Now if that part, so the part that's shiny that I showed you guys, that normally the original pin should lock, is in between the screw, which now doesn't allow the longer rod to move forward at all, which is the entire issue, because when it moves forward, and that that metal piece that's in between this plastic piece is where the bearing is, which the bearing size is bigger than that, which causes space for air to get in, and that's where the entire issue happens. And if you're able to do this, I guarantee you it'll save you a lot of money you know, the intake itself, like I said, is I believe $1,800 at least at my local dealer. And so that's
we're gonna put some Loctite over here just to make sure the screws not gonna come out.
Yeah,
because
so
it's screwing the plastic. So
yeah, and like the intake is fully plastic. So like I said, you guys do have to be careful the size of the hole that you drill, because you don't want to drill a big hole and leave only a tiny bit of plastic right here, because that will crack if you as you screw the screw in. So yeah, that should solve the problem, like I said. So now the theory is that the longer rod won't move forward, which right now it should be on the bearing that's right in here. It should be sealed because it is a thicker piece of plastic inside that touches the bearing, so that should seal. There should be no air, and if it works, there should be no whistle when on your engine when you take a look at it, because normally there'd be a whistle or hissing sound, because the air will be getting in here, and it should give you a check engine light as well. And like I said, at the dealer they will recommend that you replace the upper intake, but that will be tons of money. But all right, I hope the video helps, and if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I know I didn't rehearse the video, so there's a lot of explanation on top of another. So if you guys have any questions, just comment the video. All right, thank you.